Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to the Devil's Advocate podcast. I'm Jess and I love to argue. I have a lot of unpopular and controversial opinions I can't wait to share with you guys. And we've talked about the problem with Pete Wentz. We've talked about the problem with gatekeeping punk. In this episode, we're going to talk about, well, what it's like being an old punk. I've been told numerous times that I'm too old for my opinion on current alternative and punk music to matter. The funny thing is, the first time I was told that, I was only 24 years old. Now that I'm almost 40, I feel even more out of place trying to learn about the current music landscape, especially that of alternative and punk music. If you too feel like a dinosaur every time you enter the comment thread of a music-related post on social media, clench your dentures, friends. Let's get started. It is not really any secret that I am not a fan of Jason Pettigrew, owner of Alternative Press magazine. If you're thinking to yourself, I wonder, by the tone of Jess's voice, if Jason Pettigrew was the one who told you you were too old for alternative punk music, you'd be absolutely correct about that. A little over a decade ago, I sent Jason Pettigrew a letter asking him to consider adding older voices to his editorial staff, as I had grown tired of reading article after article that sounded like it was written by 18-year-old kids, like children who'd barely graduated high school. I spent summers selling subscriptions to this magazine. I had a subscription to this magazine. And do you know what his response was? Go find another magazine to read. You're not my demographic anyway. I was 24 years old. Similar to my thoughts about Pete Wentz and the fat phobia in the music industry, there's absolutely no reason why age should play a factor in why you pick music, why you continue to spend money on certain artists, and why you like what you like. I don't know about you, but I personally consume music with my ears, not my eyes. And if the argument is that adults just don't understand what resonates with contemporary young people, well, I really want to know how you can tell how old someone is just by the sound of their voice. As I was scripting this episode, I was watching iNabber on YouTube, a commentary channel hosted by a man in his early 20s who sounds like he's in his 70s. The experience of being young has absolutely changed contextually, but when it comes to the themes of punk music, we're talking alienation, feeling misunderstood by previous generations, and having really misplaced ideas of what it means to be older and also what it means to be young. I'm not letting my generation off the hook either. My favorite band of all time, Motion City Soundtrack, was on the older end of the spectrum for a punk band at the time. All the band members were in their late 20s, some of them are in their early 30s by the time their second album released in 2005. I'm fairly certain, having been a fan for almost that long, that even the young teen fans could find something relatable in the bouncy, singable lyrics and complex, yet crisp and clear musical structure. It also didn't matter how old they were at their live shows. I have had more energetic, chaotic fun at a Motion City Soundtrack show than any other band I've seen live, and that includes Bare Naked Ladies, my other favorite band. I would even go so far as to suggest that it would be better for punk music as a whole if we encouraged people to recover from the stupidity of their 20s before trying to achieve something as complex and complicated as a music career. I think even Justin Pierre would have to agree it might have been a good idea to address his issues with sobriety before dragging his friends, family, and bandmates along on his struggles. Despite giving Motion City Soundtrack the rich, uncommonly deep catalog of songs I have come to revere, it did break my heart to watch how Justin got us here. And if you listen to their music now, they're still hitting all the high notes with their gripping and emotional lyrical style and catchy music, even with most of the band members well into their 40s. And you know what else age gives you? That you just cannot claim until you have experience and have lived a little bit of life? Hindsight. At the risk of sounding too much like a Motion City Soundtrack stan or like I'm overly obsessed with them, especially now that I know the origin of the phrase stan, you can absolutely tell the difference between the music Justin wrote when he was stuck in those dark emotions and the songs that have similar themes but were written when he was at or, approaching a better time in his life. I suppose this all is related to the issue of how people look when they get older too, and giving preference to people who echo our ideas of conventional beauty. Because the thing about age is that to some degree, it becomes harder and harder to hide, especially if you're given to living certain lifestyles in your youth. I don't know, it's probably because I'm autistic, but I really just don't understand why looks matter at all when it comes to punk music. Wouldn't you think being counterculture should inherently include being against the culture's conventional standard of beauty as well? I also feel like learning from the people who came before us is something that sets punk music apart from a lot of other genres. I think part of the reason why pop music never resonated with me until I discovered Charlie Puth is because Charlie is one of those rare musicians who can draw influences from other artists without sounding like a copy of those other artists. That is something that I always thought was uniquely punk and uniquely alternative, was the ability to draw from all those different places and still make something of it. It takes maturity to push yourself through your first album and make it past a second or third album. When you listen to Motion City Soundtrack from their second album to their final album as a band, Panic Stations, it's like watching one of those scrubbing bubble videos where there's soap scum everywhere and then the scrubbing bubbles come in and it's shining all of a sudden because it's clean. That's what it's like watching the trajectory of their career, and that is a beautiful thing. And I don't understand why we're not encouraging that in more bands and why we are throwing people off and, oh, you're old now, you're done. Okay, great, whatever. Like, no, I don't understand why we keep doing that. Part of, for me, punk was radicalizing politically as well. And it just, everything that I'm learning about everything is coming from people who are older than me. And I'm sick of feeling out of place because I'm getting older, because my brain is sharper than it's ever been, and I have so many great opinions that I love, that I want to share. And, I'm 37. People are going to, talk crap about me, whatever. And it's just bleh, so I would definitely appreciate approaching a time when my age is not an issue. I don't remember now if it was Youngblood's Facebook page or if it was on an alternative press post that was an article about him. But his fans, they're like, misunderstood high school girls, and they're vicious, telling me, if I disagree with them about something, telling me off in the comments. And I want to smack them upside the head and say, look, little girl, I have more, like, you don't understand how resonant this person's words are. You don't understand that this is not just music about relationships or music about mental health crises. Dominic writes music about politics. He wrote music about Tin Pan Alley in Leeds in England. He wrote, a song about the NRA, and Fuck the NRA, I think, is actually the name of the song. And something that I am seeing here in my script, I know it doesn't seem like age is a big deal, or like that, why are the old people complaining? Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm complaining because it's all related to the larger cultural fixation on looks and youth and how people associate youth with usefulness. And it isn't just older people who get thrown under the bus when we insist that everyone experience music in the exact same way that we do. There are, any number of conditions and life experiences that keep people from certain things, when, there's no such thing as a typical teen experience anymore when you factor in so many different social and, and even economical factors. It just is not fair to treat somebody who's older, who disagrees with you about my biggest disagreement with these people about Dominic is that because he is British, that he has a different relationship to rap music. But so my opinion is that if he's going to use rap as a style in his albums, that he needs to remember that he may be British, but he has a huge following in the United States, which has a very specific relationship to rap. And, I have a feeling that if I were to say this directly to Dominic, that he would listen to me and that he would take it to heart. Which is why it's so frustrating that his frickin' fans are sitting there in the comments, telling me all this bullshit about, oh, you don't know him and you don't understand him and why should he take responsibility for them? Blah, blah, blah. And, it's just, if you have somebody who is socially conscious and who's relatively woke and willing to listen, let them listen. Don't make excuses for them because you don't understand what's going on. That would go a long way to maybe helping me feel like maybe I don't really need to worry about older voices because the younger voices aren't acting like complete freaking idiots. If you could get it together and not act insane, then that would be ideal. You get your shit together so that I don't have to keep bugging people like Jason Pettigrew, because you will already be speaking in a way that is mature and representative of the spectrum of people who are interested in punk and alternative music. I think I might be cutting this episode short just because I have a new headset. I have a new voice recording program. I'm very excited to see what I can do with some of these effects and stuff. So I am going to cut the episode a little short so that I can take my time figuring out about this editing with this new program I have. I'm very excited. It says non-commercial home use only, but I'm sure that doesn't count for uploading a podcast. I mean, it doesn't count if I don't have more than one fan, right? Okay, maybe 2 fans, 3 fans, I guess. I don't know. Anaya, Tucker, Anina. Yeah, my 3 listeners. My listener supporter who is supporting me for the maximum amount this month. Blah. I'm so sorry. I'm extremely high right now as well. But Kelly, my best friend, my best everything, probably gonna end up being my best subscriber on YouTube. Really the only person I want to be there for me if any of this crazy shit actually hits and like makes makes anything. I don't know, who knows. But I'm not gonna do a separate listener supporter segment for this. Because I've got I want to practice with editing properly, splitting where I need to. So that being said, I am just going to get the heck out, and we will hang out and get into a disagreement in the next episode.